So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our very important webinar on pivot strategies during the Great Resignation. We know that so many of you are experiencing that and looking for creative ways to pivot during this time frame. And so we thought nobody better to talk about this than some of our very valuable business clients. My name is Carlene Hurdle, and I am the Director of Corporate Training for Workforce Solutions here at Lord Fairfax Community College. And I have a couple of my colleagues on here, Larry Baker, Jaleese Ballin. Some of you know us, welcome. For those of you who don't know us, we would very much like to get to know you a bit better and engage with you perhaps after this webinar and if you have any questions. So I am not going to spend too much time talking today, although I certainly could. I love to talk about what we do here and some of the great successes that we've had with the folks that you're going to hear from today, but they're really the heroes in this story. So I think I'm going to turn this over to our moderator today, Andy Geyerson, and he is going to walk us through some of this very valuable conversation. So good morning and take it away, Andy.
Thank you very much, Carlene. I'm super excited to be a part of this. This is, I think, a great conversation to be having within our community. I want to thank, of course, Carlene and Jaleese and all of Workforce Solutions here at Lord Fairfax Community College for putting this on, and especially to our participants today that you're going to meet in just a few moments. My name is Andy Geyerson. I'm your moderator for today. I am a development officer here at Lord Fairfax. I am out in the community connecting businesses, individuals with our students in terms of scholarships, fundraising, and just ways that we can make sure that everyone is thinking about the successes here at the community college. I would ask, just as a little bit of housework, that everyone please remain muted during our panel discussion, and if possible, to turn your cameras off so that we can hold our bandwidth and we can see everyone who is talking. If you do have a question while we're in the middle of one of our discussions, feel free to drop that in the chat and we will try to jump into it as soon as we can. If not, we'll address it at the very end. So I have four amazing individuals in our area that I'm excited to just dive in and start talking about pivot strategies in this area. And so I want them to introduce themselves to you, because I think that talking about yourself is the best way to get introduced to folks. And so I'm going to start, and I'm just going to sort of put some names out there just so we know which sort of round circle we're going in, and there's no odd pauses in between our Q&A or panel discussion. So I'll get started. Ernie, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, as well as what you're seeing in your industry for recruitment and retention challenges.
All right, so my name is Ernie Bliss. I am currently the plant manager and general manager of Berry Global, Winchester, Virginia. I've been in we are a plastics packaging manufacturer. In fact, Berry Global is the world's largest plastic packaging provider as of a couple of years ago. And my role here is to grow a 3-site campus of manufacturing for plastic bottles in 3 or 4 different material types, and then decorate some of those bottles. Prior to this, I've lived half of my adult life outside the United States. I've been an expatriate twice. I've lived in South America. I've lived all over Europe. I've lived in Asia. I lived obviously in North America. And I have a background that includes military service. I'm a retired naval officer, and I've been in plastics now for almost 20 years and have done a pretty good job of it. What I like to do is I like to grow and develop organizations and the people in those organizations. If I can brag for a minute, I am proud to say that I can count one company president as one of my former proteges, along with several general managers, regional managers, and vice presidents. It's a nice thing to have brought people along sometime along the way. And then what I'm doing now, Berry Global, is in Winchester, Virginia. It is a lot. We employ 400 people. It is a tremendous number of people to try to employ in a community that has this small of a working age population. when everybody else is trying to do exactly the same thing. So we've been working on a host of activities that we can use to make sure that we find the kind of people who want to work in the plastics industry, specifically the kind of people who fit our values, our systems, our vibe, if you will, and make sure that we have good fits between ourselves and the people we want to bring on. And I will tell you, it's been a very, very tough and bumpy path to keep employment up above 400, but we've done a tremendous number of things to do that. Does that answer your question, Eddie?
It does a great job. And in fact, it leads us to some other questions that we'll get into in just a few moments. But first, let's get to know everyone else that's surrounding us as well. Kim, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and also what you're seeing in your industry in terms of recruitment and retention challenges.
Sure. So my name is Kim Jenkins. I'm president CEO of both Genesis Home Improvement and Genesis Restoration. Started Genesis Home Improvement 8 years ago. We're here in Remington and Fauquier County, and have been able to diversify into restoration work, and that's hence the reason there's two companies now. We definitely have a retiring workforce. I'm a big proponent of the carpentry trade program, which I'll get into later. Carlene calls it silver tsunami. Like, that's my favorite thing she's ever spoken to me about, because it's so true. We have so many people retiring and have a really hard time finding carpenters. And then also another challenge we have is competing with wages, Northern Virginia wages. We need to retain high talent, people who are highly motivated. And so a lot of people in our county go to Northern Virginia, and they're highly compensated. And so finding ways to navigate through that and bring them in has been a challenge.
Thank you very much, Kim. We'll jump as well next. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, as well as the same question I've asked the other two about recruitment and retention challenges.
Sure. I'm Jennifer Kramer. I'm the Director of Human Resources for Wagner. We are a general contractor doing general construction, heavy civil construction, as well as geotechnical. Those of you that may be driving through the Fredericksburg area probably have driven through our work site on 95. We have both the north and southbound sections of that road that we're working on the bridges. We're going to be starting a project in Brentsville. We had a project up near Battlefield. Like Kim, the silver tsunami definitely is affecting the construction industry, because we are not getting the return of the people trying to get into construction. So it's, how do we make construction a viable option, that you don't have to go to college. You can come right out of high school and you can, raise a family of 4 or 6 and be successful and grow. We'll get into the training and development, but you can, sky's the limit in construction. So we are in a tight labor market with all the other trades, trying to get people to be interested in construction and to want to make a career out of it.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to talk about this. Last but absolutely not least, let's dive into Kevin. Kevin, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, as well as the same question I've posed to everyone to make it as easy as possible: recruitment and retention challenges you're seeing in your field.
Well, thank you, Andy, and certainly a pleasure to be here this morning. Again, my name's Kevin Barrett, Vice President of Human Resources for Winchester Equipment. I've been with Winchester for 16 years now, and we have 5 locations throughout the state of Virginia, 185 team members currently. Right now for recruitment is extremely difficult. We struggle with competition, of course, but also on the technical side of things, we're finding that, finding that qualified technician to work on equipment, or to be able to do those diagnostic specific skill sets, have become even more challenging. And what we've learned is what we used to do about 4 or 5 years ago with recruitment doesn't work today. It's all different. We've been forced to think differently due to COVID and some other issues in the labor market. And we have to become very creative. We found ourselves that it's not all driven by wage. It's driven by, benefits. It's driven by other things that you can offer the employee, and they actually come looking for other things. And something that we share or what we identify as an additional benefit now in a lot of our advertising and recruitment efforts is training and development is considered a benefit now. And then we list it as such. And then you'd be surprised that people during interviews will ask questions. Well, what does this mean? And they're interested in that. So we have a lot of different things that we look at and what we're trying to do. And Winchester Equipment, we're celebrating our 65th anniversary this month. So just a lot of great things for the company. But yeah, I would say recruitment is a whole different field now, and it's forcing us to be different.
Congratulations on 65 years, Kevin. That is a milestone. So bravo right there. The last 30 years have been a challenge. There's no question about that. And I think what is most unique about the time that we're seeing right now is that we are looking towards creative ways to attract and retain new talent coming in, to avoid the silver tsunami, so to speak of, and to bring this new workforce in. I like the way I sort of started before, so I'll start with Ernie one more time. Ernie, talk a little bit about some of these impressive pivots that you've put together, as well as some creative solutions like what Kevin was talking about that you're using to attract and retain your talent pool.
Sure, I can add on a couple of things. So what we found is, and I think everybody would recognize this, we've had a number of people sense a population shift and a differing sense of what people want out of work today compared to even prior to COVID, but in prior generations. And so you have to attract and retain people today differently than you've had to ever before. And he's right. They do come in looking for different things. They want training and development. So we've had to create a training and development ladder and a career succession path for every position in the 3 sites in Winchester, regardless of where they are in our organization. Secondarily, they want to be associated with something that is bigger than a job. They want a reason to be attached to an employer. So they want to answer the big why. So we've begun to give people the ability to answer the big why. Why do I come here? It has to be more than a paycheck. And so we've given people answers to why things would be bigger than a paycheck. In the plastics industry, we are constantly talking about environmentalism and sustainability. So those were easy additions to the way that we market our role in the community. So we've begun to step out into the community and start having conversations about, plastics is not evil. Plastics is in fact a net benefit to the community. And this is the way we're going to act on the ways that we can be a net benefit, because people want to be associated now with a company, not just for the paycheck that it provides, but for the reasons that it does good in the community and in the environment. And so we've begun to be a bigger part of that. And we found that people have responded really positively to that. But let me go back to the training piece. One of the greatest things we've done is we've initiated industrial training, even on the very lowest level in our organization, because we realized over the course of this time that people are not used to an industrial environment like they did when I was growing up, and when a lot of people on this call were growing up. People just knew that factories existed and factories had a certain tenor and noise and sight and sound. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. And so we've realized that we've had to walk people very slowly down a path to being used to being in an industrial environment, because it's not normal anymore. And so we've had to initiate onboarding for an industrial environment itself before even having to talk about the work that happens in the industrial environment. And that has dramatically changed the tenor and the retention rate of the employees that we've hired. It's been a tremendous improvement. Those are a couple of things we've done.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds as if we're talking about folks who are now, instead of looking for a job, are looking for a career. And that's what all of you seem to be fostering based on the conversation we just had on the first question. But I sort of want to, I'm going to pivot a little bit to Kevin a little bit, because we're talking about training and development. And Kevin, you mentioned you are also looking at training and development as a benefit as well. Talk a little bit about that a little bit further, if you don't.
Well, probably a little over a year ago, we decided that we were going to just revamp our entire training program. We partnered with Lord Fairfax just last year and recreated our new hire orientation. But along with that, we created onboarding checklist for every position in the company. We're using that onboarding checklist on day one. After their orientation, they're handed a checklist that covers their position in detail, whether it's for 3 months, 6 months to a year, depending on the position. That way that we have a very good track record of how their training is progressing. And even at 30, 45 days, I sit with the new hire and the supervisor to review the checklist with them so that we can have a head start early to see if we're having any any types of issues. We're finding, though, with training and development, training is not a nice word. People don't get excited about training at times. Back in the day, when you heard the word training, you were bored, or you felt it was going to be boring. And we've tried to change the whole feature of that and have it very, very involved, partnering with other team members. We're reviewing a mentoring program that we can hopefully put in place. But there's a lot of things that we're just having to realize that we're redoing. We're starting from scratch. We're going back to the basics again, if you want to put it that way, in order to just really review where we need to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
That's interesting. The word I wanted to say is that I have dozed off a few times during a training seminar. So there's no question about that. And it's nice to hear that there's some improvements happening in that world. But what it sounds like we're both talking about is actually goals within the company that you're giving to employees to help them grow further. And then therefore your company is finding ways to hit milestones for the future. And Kim, you and I were sort of talking a little bit about that before this whole thing started. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in your industry along the lines of training and growth, but also this new workforce that's coming in?
Yeah, sure. So both of my companies are in just various stages of growth. And so, as I mentioned, we are trying to attract high-level talent and competing with Northern Virginia wages. And so we do several things in regards to training. First, it starts with the recruitment process. I'm big on career path. I think people now want to know, like, okay, I start here, but then where do I go from here? And then how soon do I get there? And so we tie it into creating a visual aid that shows, like, let's say you start out as a carpenter, as a laborer, right? And then you can go to carpenter 2, and then you can go to a project manager. So just creating those different career paths that are just a simple visual aid. And we take those to school career, like the high school had a career fair here at Liberty. We took it to that. So just different places we take that so people can see there's an actual track. And then once we hire them, we take that track and kind of break down their milestones of goals. So, it's asking them, what are your goals? Some people honestly just want to stay a carpenter their entire career, which is totally fine. But we want to foster that, right? Well, then we have another guy who wants to be a project manager. So let's foster that. And then when we figure out where they want to be, creating their goals and then setting those milestones of how you're going to get to that. I mean, it's great to say I want to be a project manager, but what are the actual actionable steps you have to take to get there? Whether it's job performance, excuse me, the training that we need to provide, and actually breaking it out so there's checklist items that they're going through, over the course of their time with us. And it's really work to retain. I mean, we're a young company. Genesis Restoration we just opened it at the end of 19. And then Home Improvement has been 8 years, and we have people who've already been with us for 5 years. which is pretty significant when you think about where we came from. So in addition to that, this past year, I started using Google Classroom. And I used that because we already have the Google software. That's how we run our email. We use Google Drive. And so I was playing around with Google Classroom and found out that that was, in a sense, a free resource, right? Because we're already paying for the suite, a free resource for us to create training classrooms. And it's so simple for a small business because, you pull a, maybe one of your vendors has a video, a training video that they offer you for free. So you pull that link in, and then you have your people, watch that and answer a few training questions. Or maybe it's a safety training video. You go on YouTube and you find a safety training video that's applicable, and you plug that in. So it's a nice, for a smaller business, right? Like low cost way to train your people, and then you can track it. And then in that way, you give them like certifications. So we create certain certifications that are only apply to Genesis, but at least it's giving them like that certification to build that so that they can climb that ladder that they're looking to climb. Whether they want to go up or they just want to stay where they're at, they still have goals that they're achieving.
I love the use of Google Classrooms and intuitively using technology that you have already to create more creativity with the pivots and workforce that you're working with. Jennifer, I'm going to change gears slightly, but I'm going to keep with the same question almost, the idea of pivot and creativity in your field. But then also I want to ask you about looking into the future, meaning we've talked a lot about what we're doing now, but what are you all looking at in the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years as well, in terms of employee retention, training, and that sort of thing?
Well, I think that employee retention, training, development is not a nice to have, it's a have to have. So it's occurring now, it's going to occur in 2 years, it's going to occur in 10 years, it's going to continue, because the people that are coming into the industry or coming into the workforce now, that's what they're used to. They want to know what's next. And if you're not prepared as a company to provide that, they will go. There was a LinkedIn workforce report shows 94% of employees surveyed said they would stay if their company invested in their professional development. So if you engage and you invest in your employees' professional development, there's a strong possibility you may not have a retention issue, because they're going to stay. Employees are going to stay where they feel valued. Wagman, we're in our 120th year in business. So we have employees that are here one day, and we have employees who have been here over 50 years. So I think we're doing something right on the retention, but we're listening to our employees. We will have a survey with our employees at 30 days. We call the stay interview. What's working, what's not working. Employees that go ahead and resign, we send them a resignation, survey. Why did you resign? Would you come back? We need to listen to the ones that are here, the ones that left, and we need to be able to listen to their ideas and work on how that's going to make us successful. It's not always the hardcore how to operate a piece of equipment. We learn through our surveys that our leaders want soft skill training. So we, along with Lord Fairfax, developed what we call our Leadership Academy, where we have supervisors who are going through sessions on soft skills. How do you talk to people? How do you treat people? How do you train people? How do you grow people? Because it's not just the recruiter that needs to go and recruit people, or it's not just HR that needs to figure out how do we retain them. It's one Wagman here, so we all do it together.
I think this leads into a great next question. I'm hearing from all four of you this focus towards being more involved and listening to your employees as to what they want to do with their careers instead of their jobs, their careers. But how are we sort of focused on ROI for all of this? Meaning, what are we seeing in terms of job satisfaction, productivity, employee retention? Or are these working, or are they looking for new things constantly as the job market changes? And I'll start with Kevin on this one, but I may want to go around all four of you as we discuss.
I think you're finding that a lot, there are differences, of course. And what we're trying to do as well is every quarter we have what we call state of the dealership meetings. We actually have meetings at all 5 locations where the CEO reports on the state of the company. We are very transparent with our financials. We show all information to our team members because what we want is we want everyone to be a stakeholder. We want them to take a personal ownership in the business and feel that they're very much part of what's happening. And, as Jennifer said, whether it's one day or, we have people that's 30 years with the company, everyone has a piece or a contribution to that, that we're trying to expand upon. But it is a very different way of with retention and recruitment, it is very different.
Kim, I saw you're unmuted. How do you feel about this?
I love the piece about the financials, right? So like every leader / manager on the team has different pieces of a profit and loss statement. So I've created one for like the marketing team, the office manager, the operations manager. So they see different levels of financials, and they're able to digest and see like what they actually impact. Because I think when people understand how they're impacting the numbers, then they're able to it gives them this ownership of like, okay, I can actually do something about this. I think that's huge. I also think we're in an environment where, yes, we need to genuinely care about our people. I think that COVID has shown us that work-life balance, while I struggle with that, right? Because before I was running a business, I have an extensive career in banking and insurance. And so, working 50, 60 hours a week and having 4 kids, it's not easy. And so I'm huge on both men and women, but that they can be working parents and have the flexibility and not feel guilty about needing to go take care of something because they work harder. I mean, I have people, I don't expect them to do this, but I have people working late hours of the night, right? I give them an hour and don't even say anything because they need to take their kid to the doctor. And then they're working well into the night because they have that ownership that they know they're appreciated and they're hungry. And then I think also, I talk about, the silver tsunami and the trades piece, and I'm a huge advocate. I mean, thank God for Carlene, Lord Fairfax. Like the carpentry trade program is my vision. In 2017, I was in leadership fall year, and I was in a class at Lord Fairfax as we were touring the college. And I just had this vision of like, I've got to get a carpentry trade program off the ground. There is HVAC, there's plumbing, there's electrical, there isn't a carpentry program. And who builds the building that you're going to actually put these components in, right? So with a lot of hard work, we stood up the first class and we hosted it at Genesis, but we are going to have another one in the fall with hopefully the building at Lord Fairfax in Fauquier will be set up. But the thing about it is, it was interesting during our pre-meetings because we invited several different employers to come and ask questions and give their feedback on this program. And they all wanted to pull from it, right? They all wanted to like cherry pick from it. And that's not the environment we're in. We have to invest in our people. You got to pull the kid from high school who is excited about having a career and isn't going straight to college. And you've got to invest in him. And you'll find out pretty quick, like there's going to be some that, don't necessarily work out, but you're going to find some that are incredible. And those are the ones that you want to foster, that you want to put into the carpentry trade program. And I think as this specific program continues to grow, I think that more people will jump in without coming from an employer. But I think it's our responsibilities as employers to figure out a way to get them educated, to get them and to invest in them. And you'd be surprised. And I'm going to throw Carlene out there all the time, but she's been huge for us. You'd be surprised at the resources and the help you can get. And I know that I'm in kind of a different boat than these other guys. We're a young small business, and so resources are important, right? Like if I want to invest in human capital, I can't spend $5,000 on a training program. And so tap into Lord Fairfax, reach out to Carlene. She will help you with resources. There's an array of things that you can tap into that can help.
My, oh my. Carlene, I hope that you are, your heart is growing for all of
This
this.
is not a
right now.
commercial, I
And you're-
promise.
Now, Ernie and Jennifer, I saw heads nodding during both Kevin and Kim's comments. What else can we add to this conversation?
Well, I think one of the things I nodded a lot when he started talking about the state of the dealership, and I knew immediately what he was talking about. One of the things that we've discovered is we weren't doing a very good job of telling our employees how things were going. They just showed up to work every day, and we went through meetings, and it was kind of rote. And we initiated, even in a COVID environment, we initiated and we've maintained for the last couple of years employee meetings that we hold every month. And we open up the books a little bit. I think Kim said it, that there are levels of knowledge based on the time we have and the acuity of the employees, but we've been able to open up the books a little bit and explain the financials of how this business is running to all of our sites. And we've been able to talk very openly with our employees, very transparently about how their work directly translates into the success of the organization they work for. And it's allowed us to initiate an operational bonus program for everybody in the organization. And then secondarily, I now get together with everybody who calls themselves a manager or a salary person, and we have an even deeper dive into the state of the business every single month. And we talk very deeply about all the things that we're trying to do and how it impacts the managers, because the managers are of course directly impacted by their organization, and they have responded amazingly well to understanding how the business runs, why we say the things that we do. And it's been truly a gigantic advantage to attracting and retaining talent. We're able to have one-on-one conversations with employees that we were never able to have before, because it's kind of a big population, it's kind of spread out, and we're engaging people very, very locally every single month. And we're now walking through an environment where 400 people all know each other by their first name. They know families, and it's really done a really good job of improving our retention.
And it sounds as if we're going back to that same idea of no longer a job, but rather a career, that they see themselves as a part of this industry, as a part of this company, more than just I'm going in and collecting a paycheck on a regular basis.
Well, and in fact, the last couple of years have been tough on a number of people, and we're a pretty diverse crowd. 400 people, you can't help but be diverse. And we have said, we are not just a business, we're a family here, and we mean it. We have had a number of negative events in the last couple of years where we've had to stand up and take a break from work and go support each other outside of work. And it has really done well.
Jennifer, I hate to always put you at the very end of all of this, but feel free. What are you seeing as we have this conversation in terms of like looking for satisfaction, productivity, employee retention, customer service loyalty, and what your ROI is seeing on the other end of it?
Well, I can agree with the other three presenters. It's about communication. And if you can be as transparent as you can with your employees, so they are aware of where you're at, where you want to be. I'll let you know that Wagman is a family-owned business, and our core values, our mission and vision is all about family. And when we are profitable, and we've been very fortunate to be profitable, we share those profits with every employee. Every employee that's been here for a year will reap the benefits of our profit sharing, and that goes into their retirement account. And that started 120 years ago, that we wanted to make sure that our employees had some nest egg when they left our company. Now, they might not put their own money in the 401k, but when we have profit sharing, we'll start a retirement account for them that will help them when they retire. So it's just, looking at your benefit plans and listening to your employees. Is there something that you should offer that you're not offering? Do you want to increase your paternity leave? Because, women get, 6 weeks, 8 weeks for maternity leave, but do you want to offer more leave to your fathers? You just have to open it up and listen and communicate with your employees. Not everything, not every benefit you can make happen, but as long as they know they have that open communication with you and you're listening and you're putting their ideas, out there, that is a huge thing for retention. They're being heard. That's what they want. Employees want to be heard.
And this is a perfect segue. I had a attendee direct message me a question that I think fits perfectly into this. I love that they feel like I have the power to do this, but this has actually worked this time. Let's talk between the four of you, and this is off script, about culture within your company at this point. So we've talked about the silver tsunami. We've talked about younger generations coming in. And so are you seeing that sense of inclusion and worth by joining a company with these two generations coming together? And how do you continue to foster that sense of culture that you've already built from all these years, 120 years, 65 years, with this change that you're going through? And I'm just going to go ahead and start. Jennifer, let's start with you because I've always ended with you, but then Kim, you're next after behind.
I say when we do our recruitment, we recruit not only can you do the job or you have potential to do the job, but we have core values here. So we want to make sure that the people that we're bringing on fit into our core values, and that this is the right place for them. Integrity, mutual respect, safety, innovation, sense of urgency, community. Everybody that works at Wagman knows those core values, and they stay at Wagman because of those core values. So it doesn't matter if you've been here for one day, you get those core values told you during your interviews, that you get a copy of them, and you make your decisions if you're going to come to Wagman based on those core values. So our culture is built on those core values. Our business decisions are based on those core values. And no decision we make, it's going to, if we have to go against any of those core values, we won't make that decision. And if it's going to cost us, if we're going to lose money on it, if we're going to keep with our integrity, our mutual respect, safety, innovation, community, and sense of urgency. And that's what our culture is built off of.
You're muted, Andy.
It's like my first Zoom I've ever done. And so I'm going to ask Jennifer this question to you, but then Kim, I'm going to you next. With this pivot, this idea of a creative retention and training program, have you had to relook at your culture and your values, or are those what you put into place as you're putting this new workforce together?
Those are what we put in place.
Okay.
Because we're not going to go again. We're not changing those, and we make those work with our training and development and recruiting and retention.
Kim, go ahead. I think you've had some thoughts on this.
Yeah. So obviously we have a range, right? Like we have younger, we have older, we have in between. And so we started with just my husband and I, hired a part-time family member. And then as we grew, hired more people. And so we've just remained that family unit. So even with 30 people, we just expect communication. We don't come without conflict. Like obviously when you have 30 people or more, right? Like there's conflict. And so it's a responsibility of the leadership to make sure that they're hitting those conversations in the beginning, and teaching. Like it was hard in the beginning because we had some older people who didn't want to take the time to train the younger people. And it was a conversation we had to have. Like, look, I know it takes you longer on a job to have a carpenter assistant who's 18 and knows nothing, but we're paying you for that. And so we need you to be a part of this and understand that you're not being graded on how quickly you get this done. It's quality and how you're bringing these people up. And having people have this like shift of understanding that they're a mentor, not just an employee, which I think is harder with the older generation. My husband grew up a roofer. His dad had a roofing company, and the expectation was you have a job, you do it. Like you go out, you do what you're supposed to do, and you leave. Like there's no coddling. There's no how do you feel about it. There's no are you too hot? Do you need some water? Right? Like it was just tough love. And now we're in a different environment, right? Like you still have those expectations, but we care about our people, and when we hire, like they need to they need to buy into that same faith, family, responsibility, integrity. Like we have our core values as well, and it is easy as long as you as the owner or as the manager are fostering that. I mean, I genuinely think that's what it comes down to is you leading your team. And we have quarterly team meetings. Sometimes we'll do it at our house. Sometimes we'll do it at the shop. We do cornhole, like grill out. It is just super informal. People bring their families. So that helps to build the culture too, and to let people get to know each other outside of work. And so that's helped as well.
That's fantastic. Ernie, talk a little bit about 400 employees, obviously. what are we doing to foster? Kevin, I saw your unmute right there. You're going next right after all of this.
Luckily, I have a little bit of a canned assistant for this one. So Barry has a great culture program with a terrible name. Our culture name is an acronym called PEGS UFA. And I apologize for that name, but it's people, environment, growth, safety, united, focused, agile, accountable. And so we teach people this stuff, and we are, we get really red-faced about the terrible name, but we teach this to every employee when we do our orientation, and we follow up on all of this. For example, it's an industrial environment. It can be unsafe if you don't manage it. So every single meeting that we have everywhere on a 24-hour basis always starts with a conversation about safety. And we have said, and the management team has been trained, that nothing happens unless we assure that our employees are safe and that they're accountable to each other. We do that first and foremost with every single thing we do, because it is an industrial environment. But when we satisfy safety, and we satisfy quality, and we make sure that we're all being trained, we make sure that we take care of each other. So last summer, it was incredibly busy because of COVID. We're a bottle maker. We're making bottles for hand sanitizer. You couldn't make it fast enough. And at a certain point, you could tell everybody was getting just a little bit strung out. And so we stopped. We took a pause in the operation, and we had ice cream day. And so we brought in an ice cream truck, and I don't know who said it, but I think Kim said cornhole. Well, we couldn't find cornhole boards, so we had somebody make cornhole boards for us, and we had a cornhole tournament out in the sun one day, and everybody got a chance to just calm down and relax. And you would not know who the new employees were and who the older employees were. You wouldn't know who was a manager and who was not. And then we've initiated training, and we hire people as young as 18. Our oldest employee today is 73 years old. And we have our more senior employees mentoring our younger employees. Simple things like the more seasoned employees will show up an hour early for work and sit in the break room and have coffee and talk about life and talk about what they want to do that day. The younger employees, as you might well imagine, come screaming through the door with 1 minute left to go. And so we're getting that informal counseling by formally getting people to mentor one another. And we're actually seeing growth and training happen both ways. We're seeing habits transfer to the younger folks, and new technologies and new thought processes transfer to the more seasoned folks. It's kind of fun to watch.
I love hearing that. Kevin, you unmuted. Let's add your thoughts into this conversation.
It's always exciting to hear about other folks' culture. And I want to just add that, for Winchester Equipment, our culture is unique. When we started back in 1957, it was a group of orchardists and farmers who put the business together. And over time, it's grown, but the core value has always existed. And that's how we start folks, by understanding the company and learning our culture. Our core value is customers for life. And, a lot of times, you hear, well, customers. Well, that's not only external customers, it's internal customers. And we also believe in the golden rule. We tell our folks from day one, how you wish to be treated is how we treat others. If someone from accounting or the service department is calling you for help, they're your customer. We need to take care of them just like we would someone on the outside. But, also something that we found to be a little more adapting to the changes out there is we've offered and tried to work with folks, single parents, offering flex schedules. Back in the day, we were just known, okay, it's Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5. Well, not everyone can work that. So, we have to explore, okay, what is going to work for the business, but also if you've got a valuable team member, how do we keep them in the company? How do we take care of them? So flex schedules have become very important in a lot of cases. And it's allowed that single parent or whatever the case may be to give them the time they need, but also be able to maintain a 40-hour work week. Such as Ernie and the others had mentioned, we break away from the craziness at times and bring in the ice cream trucks and the food trucks and purchase everyone lunch or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times just to kind of grow that teamwork together and mix the different departments so everyone has an opportunity for quite frankly, just to talk. COVID really challenged a lot. And I will have to say, as Winchester Equipment, we are truly a family. We want to take care of our folks. And we tell people, you spend more time with a coworker than you do in some cases your own family. And we need to make sure that it is effective, productive, and it's a good, positive situation. Even during COVID, when the emergency paid sick leave was in place, as you all encountered, and when it ran out last year, we still had folks that were ill. We still had folks that were taking care of loved ones. And did we stop when the direction said that, okay, family medical or the emergency paid sick leave was going to stop? No, we continue to pay our people. And it created a feeling that they knew that they were taken care of, whether it was 1 week that they were employed or 30 years. It made a difference. And we're just, we're trying to do whatever we can just to maintain and to, I think Kim mentioned it too. And Kim, I just want to say, we've tried to change our mindset with hiring. We also, how if you're looking for a technician or you're looking for someone in accounting or whatever the department is, you tend to look for someone who already has that background, right? Well, we're trying to train our managers and also others. Hey, if they're trainable, can we just try them? Can we bring them into the role and be creative and teach them that position? And not be so locked on, okay, this is what I want and this is what I have to have. And you got to be creative. At least that's what we have found. So
I like it. We call them homegrown.
Yeah.
Like we have our people that are homegrown, and that's how we approach it. It's good.
For so long, I've heard us talking about going back to the way it was before, how we were before COVID. But oftentimes I love using the phrase, we're looking at the new future. How has COVID changed our business for the better so that we can grow and develop and maintain these workforce? And the conversation we're having today is showing that new future, that new development that we're putting into place. And I think that's engaging to show. Questions that come up, I joked earlier that we could go for hours, and it almost feels like we could at this point in time because this is such an engaging conversation. But if you have a question, drop it in chat or let Carlene or Jaleese know, and we can get it on here. We did have a question come up, and because someone's direct messaging me, I can throw them under the bus slightly. Ashley Schickel sent me a message that said, the message so often is that there are so many jobs available. We have a low unemployment rate and we need more folks back or into the workforce. But she recently heard a new perspective. How many applicants are being labeled as unqualified by computer HR software before they're considered for a job? Is an applicant with only teaching experience ever considered for a management role, or retail managers considered customer service and sales and other industries? Are HR departments expanding their acceptance of transferable skills to meet halfway with what's available in the market? What do you all think of this question? And I'll go with Kim, you're unmuted first, so I'm going to throw this your way. If you don't mute, we'll never know. But then the next person to unmute, let's answer this question for Ashley. What are you guys seeing in terms of transferable skills in this new future?
Yeah, I mean, I just hired an operations manager who has dental experience. She was a dental hygienist, and then she got a promotion working for a company that has like a franchise basically, and she was setting up new dental offices. So she has no restoration experience, but she was hungry, she was eager, she was local, and she was super organized and very fast paced. And so I can train all the other things. So we do use we do use a hiring software, but I use that lightly, like it's more of a procedural piece. Really pull some people from it. But to be honest with you, 90% of our hires are genuinely referrals from other people, relationships. So if you are looking for someone, tap out to your network. Tell people what you're looking for and not maybe the position, but the skills necessary. And so on the flip side, if someone was looking for a position and the teacher was looking for a management position, tap into your network. Who do you know? Who can you go to? I see there's a chamber, somebody on here. Go to the chamber, talk to different people. And I think that it's interesting to me how I truly believe that COVID, while it separated us for a while, it made people realize the importance of community and personal relationships and having conversations, because people missed it, right? Because they just took it for granted. And so now they missed it. And so I think if you dial back to that, I think that that's super beneficial.
Kevin, I saw you on mute. Do you have thoughts with this?
Well, no, I like what Kim's saying, and that was kind of what I was mentioning there a few minutes ago, is that we're open to any type of skill set. We're not locked into a specific. Now, sometimes that can get a bit gray, when you're looking on the mechanical side of things. But even saying that, someone who has solid mechanical aptitude, we can train them with the rest. And that's the part where we're willing to be flexible and make that work. We have also a rewards referral program. Someone who refers someone to the company to be hired, immediately, they're getting a $50 gift card to Amazon. And then after 90 days of a successful probationary period, they're receiving some cash money for the position. So, we're different things, but certainly, I'd like to think that our HR mindset is that we're wanting to be very, very open to what a person's presenting and how we can maximize that talent in our company now.
Thank you, Kevin. Ernie and Jennifer, I'm going to have a question for you. I'm going to pivot just a little bit because that is the name of what we're talking about today. And this comes from Lexi Laporte from the Winchester Group, if you happen to know her. We've talked about community. We've talked about engaging our employees. And I want to expand upon that a little bit more in terms of how important is it to each of you to be engaged with the community, not within the business, but the surrounding community. And how important is that to you, the employees that you're bringing on as part of this new retention training, bringing on and that sort of thing. And also, how important is it these days for the excitement of giving back towards our communities that we're living in? Ernie or Jennifer? Jennifer, you start us, and then Ernie, I'll have you go next.
Sure. So like I said, community is one of our core values, and giving back to our community is huge. We do a matching program here for employees that donate. We'll match $1 for $1 up to $100 to a nonprofit that they will donate to. We also pay employees 8 hours, a full day of pay, if they want to go and volunteer at a community. It could be with their church, or it could be through United Way. It's one of our core values, so we promote it. We have people who are involved with the American Cancer Society walks, the Alzheimer's walk. We have an intranet that will push all that information out. We have many of our members that are board members on local community boards. So like I said, being one of our core values, community is huge here.
Ernie, how about on your end?
So yeah, we in fact, Berry Global encourages us to be a big part of the community. So we try to get out and do things. We're currently working with Rotary International, but more importantly, we're redefining our sense of being in the community based on the faces that we have that when we come to work every day. And here's what I mean by that: 30% of our population are Latinos. And we have decided that we're going to have an outreach to the Latino community in Winchester and surrounding Frederick County. So we've reached out to the Latino Chamber of Commerce locally, and we've taken the step of hiring bilingual human resource people. We have bilingual trainers, and we have a strong community outreach program and a strong training program going both from English to Spanish and Spanish to English, so that people can learn from each other. And that has worked out really, really well. We've hired a number of people who are bilingual, and we were able to share things in English, Spanish, Spanglish, the occasional French, and that has worked out really well with developing a sense of community to a larger definition of what community means to the 400 people we have here.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge element. And Ernie, just to follow up with that just for a second, because we're almost out of time, are you seeing that your employees who are coming in, new hires, are appreciative and enjoying that element that you're engaged within the community?
Oh yeah, I think, obviously there are some difficulties when in fact not everybody can speak more than one language. And there are language barriers periodically, but we work really hard to overcome them. And we've all learned a little bit of another language, just a little bit, in order to get through the day. But I got to be honest with you, that we are now having, now that we're able to have meals as a group again, departments are having meals, and those meals consist of stews and empanadas and chiles and cakes and tortas, and it's an amazing amount of different kind of things that are fostering the sense of family that we have in our environment. Now that we're able to get back together, it's begun to be a really good part of being here.
All right, I've got one more question coming in, and then I'm going to ask you for your contact information so that if folks have additional questions, they can reach out to you, because we are a community. It's good for us to foster that even within the Zoom environment. So Carlene had a question from La Pearl. Can you discuss, and I'll go with whoever unmutes first, can you discuss about the career pathways your company uses? Are these already plugged into your business plan or developed as needed, or both? Kim.
So just because I'm super passionate, it's my favorite thing. I think the career pathways are huge. I would say you both. Like there are some, like that are already plugged in, but because we're growing, we have new needs that arrive, right? And so that either means like another tier of a path, or a completely new. I didn't have a need for an operations manager for Genesis Restoration. So when I started it, I didn't even have that in my thought process. Now I have that, so now she's got a career. Like so I would say both. And Carlene has helped us get a carpentry apprentice program, so we're registered with the state of Virginia. So that's been able to plug into our career pathway. And to us, we know that trades, the trades piece is a movement, right? We know we're not going to get 10 carpenters overnight, that we have to do little by little and just like one bite at a time. But that doesn't change like our goal of changing the perception of contractors and revitalizing the future of trades. And so with those career paths, we just have to stay focused on what the end game goal is. And some of them were built in right away, and some of them kind of develop as we go.
Thank you, Kim. Anyone else want to chime in on this question? Jennifer, Kevin, Ernie, thoughts? I'll take your mute as Kim answered it for us, which was great right there. First, I'd like to just go ahead. We're bumping up against the hour right here, and I want to make sure everyone's cognizant of time. So first, thank you to our panelists, to Ernie, Kevin, Jennifer, and Kim for being a part of this amazing conversation today. Huge thank you to Workforce Solutions, to Carlene and Jaleese for putting this event together. Jaleese has done a great job of going ahead and dropping into the chat the LinkedIn link so that you can keep this conversation going. Let's circle the room and just make sure we've got contact information for everyone, which I believe Workforce will probably share out as well, but it's nice to have it on a recorded Zoom. I'll start with you, Jennifer. I hit mute too soon.
Okay, sure. So if you want to reach out to me, my email is jakramer@wagman.com.
Perfect. Kevin. Kevin, you're muted. You're muted. You pulled an Andy on that one there.
Yes, I did. Sorry. Email is kbarrett@winchesterequipment.com. Thank you.
Ernie.
So yeah, mine's really easy. It's just my name. It's Ernie Bliss@berryglobal.com.
Perfect. If you can see, Jaleese is dropping this into the chat as well, so you can cut and paste and immediately start asking some hard-hitting questions. Kim, how about for you?
Yep, I'm Kim at GHIVA, like Genesis Home Improvement, Virginia.com.
Perfect. Thank you all for being a part of this great conversation. Thank you all for attending. I've gotten some great direct messages from folks who have been cheering your names. So needless to say, if you're at the grocery store again, you will be hounded as celebrity status at this point in time. So congrats to all of you for being community leaders in this project. Huge thank you to all of you who attended. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your morning, and thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you for being the mediator. Great job.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.